It's funny. The human mind is a wonder. It always thinks it knows best and will die by the sword to preserve its own reality in spite of the truth. It hardly knows what's best for itself, and yet it then expects to know what's best for others. Every day we keep ourselves in misery voluntarily, and yet we think we can help others when they too believe they know best. We feign ignorance to our own schemes and play innocent in the mirror. How many times have we said that we were going to start that project, pursue that infatuation, finally quit that job to pursue our dream? And how many times have we justified ourselves in order to forget we knowingly set ourselves up for failure and played innocent? They say we have three masks. I argue there's a fourth. It's the one that hardly ever comes off. Being alone is easy. Sitting alone is uncomfortable. The thoughts can be loud, the silence deafening. I think we're afraid to be alone. Not because it means we don't have anyone else, but because we're afraid of ourselves. We are afraid of that voice telling us what we're doing is wrong. We're afraid of failing to the point we never start. We're afraid of succeeding to the point we never try. We are afraid of our darkest demons and paralyzed by our brightest angels. I think that voice comes from two places: the fear of letting the dreams of your inner child die, and your future self down. As a result, we get suffocated by our past, or crippled by our future, while remaining paralyzed in the present. It is not until we finally rip off that mask that we can stand up and say, I have a new dream. What people don't realize is that your entire life has been made up of a pattern of behaviors and ideas that you have had ingrained into your mind by either society or authoritative influence outside of you. An individual thinks they know who they are, yet I ask, who are you? You'll say your name, your job, maybe some hobbies. As you keep thinking, you may list where you went to school, a list of achievements, maybe even family history. Yet what makes that you? You are not those things. You are simply the body that was in the moment of time with those circumstances and associations. That body could have been anyone. In fact, looking throughout history and given the probability of chance, the odds of a similar you existed somewhere else in time with just different circumstances, but similar associations and the same results. Which one is you then? The you that had different circumstances but similar results 2,000 years ago on the other side of the world, or you that happens to inhabit this body in time now with these associations? Do your eyes see, or are your ears open? You, as you are aware, is merely a construction of ideas you've adopted. If I ask you why you think something, can you rationalize it and articulate it in your own words? If I ask you to defend your belief, are you capable of providing an explanation further than that's just how it's taught or this is what I saw or heard? If I ask you who you are you able to identify that unique aspect of you that creates art, not autonomy? Do your eyes see, and does your heart listen? In a culture with automated services, automated production, and automated results, the people become automated slaves to their behavior and culture. We scroll on our phones to realize hours have elapsed, binge watch a show not realizing the world is still moving around us and we're sitting still. We forget what we just saw in favor of what we now hear. Part of me is convinced that the average person isn't even aware of their own actions and therefore consequences because they've been so inoculated and hardened by pleasure and pain that they've forgotten the difference between the two. Alcohol, for example, is objectively bad on all accounts, and a person's life is undoubtedly better without it through provable data. Yet we still drink. Why? Why is a question that needs to be asked more. The reason we don't is because we are afraid of the reality and would rather preserve our delusion. We drink because it provides a temporary pleasure from the long-term pain. Yet, we rationalize it to unwind. Does reason mean justification or truth? If individuals are then naturally prone to lying to themselves, it means they are all the more capable of lying to others. If your culture and time determines your values and perspectives, that assumes an automatic bias based on personal experience. If one is capable of being flawed, we are all capable. Is your experience more valid than mine then? If so, on what grounds and by whose authority? If one hopes to answer the question, what determines morality, and attempt to create an absolute truth as objectively as possible and without bias for the purpose of establishing an agreed upon framework, there needs to be determined a set of universal principles and laws that can be wholly agreed to by a people, despite time, biology, or culture.